I'm not the type to talk much about myself. And honestly, there's not much to tell. I'm just an ordinary fisherman. I work as a carpenter. On weekends, I spend time at my cabin. But I want to share one story, a very strange one. For many years, I felt like I needed to tell someone, but I always held myself back, even when I drank too much. I didn't want anyone to think I was crazy and laugh at me later, or even drag me to a mental hospital. But the internet is different. Here, you can tell anything and remain, as they say, in the shadows. Good thing my niece taught me how to use a computer. So about 20 years ago, actually, I won't sugarcoat it. I remember every detail of this story. On March 20th, 1998, my good friend Serge and I went fishing. The plan was simple: drive into the woods, leave the car where the road ends, and walk to our favorite lake. Oh, the fish there was delicious. Almost jumped right into our hands. We always prepared well. A tent just in case, plenty of food, water, homemade moonshine. Serge made it himself. Warm clothes, matches. That day, the weather was perfect. Sun shining, blue sky, birds singing. We parked the car, grabbed all our stuff, and headed through the forest to the lake. We arrived in about an hour, set up, cast our rods, sat talking, fishing, enjoying life. We were there until around 3 p.m. But then the weather suddenly changed. It got really cold. Serge suggested packing up and heading back to the car. We started walking, but the weather kept getting worse. And this wasn't even the strangest part. Serge and I knew this route like the back of our hands. We'd been here 100 times, maybe more. But suddenly, nothing looked familiar, and we couldn't turn back. If one of us made a mistake, the other would have corrected it immediately. We exchanged glances, and then Serge couldn't take it. "Mikhail, something's wrong. We're going the right way, but everything around is different. Where are the stumps? Where's that crooked pine? I don't understand. Let's head back to the lake. We didn't get far, and maybe we can try the right path from there." We walked back. 10 minutes, 20, 30. Still no lake. Serge was swearing like a sailor, trying to hide his fear. I couldn't believe we were lost. And to make matters worse, snow started falling, even though the weather forecast promised sunny weather and above freezing temperatures for the next 3 days. We walked and walked, and then came upon a clearing we had never seen before. In the center, there were 3 wooden crosses. We went closer. The crosses were ancient. The wood almost rotted away. No dates, no names. While examining them, the snowstorm intensified. Visibility was poor. It was freezing. Serge and I, tough, experienced fishermen, started to panic. We wandered for another hour, still no car, no sign of familiar terrain. Snow kept falling, and it was getting dark. Suddenly, Serge stopped and shouted, "Look, there's a house." I looked, and indeed, there was a small house. We ran toward it, freezing cold. We reached the house. It was small, intact, no damage. We were very relieved, but there was a padlock on the door. Serge found a large stone and broke it open in about 15 minutes. We stepped inside, finally able to breathe. We started inspecting the house. There were 2 rooms, a large main room and a small entryway where firewood was stored. The house was entirely wooden. It looked like it was built 30 to 40 years ago. The doors were solid, strong. Both the front door and the one connecting the entryway to the main room had sturdy internal bolts. Serge immediately noticed it was odd and said, "Why put a bolt on the inner door if the front door already has one?" and this house is in the middle of the wilderness. The main room was simple but neat and functional. One small window, 2 beds, a little table by the window, and a stove. We were freezing cold. We never expected to get lost, and certainly not for a snowstorm to hit. I quickly got the stove going. Serge prepared some food, opened a can of fish, made sandwiches, poured some of our moonshine. I collected snow outside in a kettle to boil water for tea. We drank hot tea, warmed up a bit, and began our small meal. While eating, we discussed how to get out. We agreed to stay in the cabin overnight. If it snowed again tomorrow, we'd stay another day. We had enough food, and we caught plenty of fish. By about 8 p.m., the snow stopped, and a sharp frost set in. I think it was around 10 minutes or more past 8. We put on all our clothes, laid out our sleeping bags on the wooden beds, and started talking about this and that. But Serge returned to the main topic. This is strange. Have you ever seen weather like this here in late March? Sure, snow fell, but such cold. Well, anything can happen. Weather is unpredictable. Good thing we found this cabin. Otherwise, who knows what would have happened to us. You're right about that, but still, I can't figure it out. How could we get lost? After that question, a tense silence filled the room. We didn't know what to say. The room slowly warmed up, the stove crackled comfortably, and we gradually fell asleep. I don't know how long I slept, but at some point in the night, I suddenly woke up to a sound. I quickly gathered myself and listened. Someone was moving around outside. I looked out the window, but couldn't see anyone. Assuming it was wild animals, I lay back down. As I was drifting off again, a sharp knock came at the front door. I woke Serge quietly and whispered what had happened. Maybe it's an animal. Have you ever heard an animal knock on a door like a human? I tried to convey the strangeness of the situation to Serge. The knocking repeated 3 more times, each louder than the last. Serge grabbed the axe that was near the firewood in the entryway and approached the door, shouting, "Who's there?" No answer. Instead, a loud knock sounded again. "Hey, there are 5 of us here on a hunting trip. What do you want?" Serge was noticeably panicking. Soon after, he ran back into the entryway, bolted the second door, and sat across from me. Almost immediately, we noticed a shadow in the window, moving so fast we couldn't make out what it was. "Who do you think it could be?" Serge asked. "I don't know. Frost, snow. Who would wander in the forest at night in this weather? Maybe some mute hunter. Then he could knock on the window. Strange." We sat, scared, unsure how to react. Soon, we heard a female voice. Soft, pleasant, very young. A girl was standing outside the front door. She said, "Please let me in, I'm freezing. I came fishing and got lost." Serge jumped up, tried to open the door, almost did, but I stopped him just in time. I told the girl, "Sweetheart, stay by the window on that side. We'll look at you and let you in." There was a pause. She said, "Okay." But her voice had changed. It sounded rougher, huskier. We went to the window. It was dark outside, and then we nearly fell over. A girl approached the window, young and beautiful, like a wildflower. We were stunned by her beauty. Serge tried again to open the door. I pulled him back and shouted, "Idiot! Where are you going? Have you ever seen a girl walking naked in the freezing forest at night?" I slapped him to snap him out of it. We locked the second door again, covered the window with everything we had, and tried to think. "She's completely naked," Serge whispered. "I didn't even realize at first. What do we do? Let's wait for morning and then move. Despite the weather, we'll look for our car, or at least find our lake first. We threw more firewood into the stove, lay in our beds. Sleep wouldn't come. Conversation was impossible. We stared at the ceiling, scared. Almost asleep, a knock came again. Louder this time, non-stop. I admit, it was terrifying. Then we heard a child crying and a female voice saying, "Please let us in. We are freezing with the child. We're hungry." Serge said, "Come to the window. We need to make sure you're alone." But no one approached the window. The woman spoke again, her voice breaking, sounding eerie and unhealthy, as if a sick drunk general was trying to imitate her. She repeated, "Let us in, let us in, let us in." And soon she screamed, while the child kept crying. In our horror, someone outside began shaking the door. We were terrified that whoever it was might break it down. Only God knows what would happen next. Serge panicked completely, sat in front of the door, and prayed aloud without stopping. The door was being battered for about half an hour. He prayed the same time. Despite the tension, I noticed Serge had never been particularly religious, yet he knew many prayers. Later, he told me his grandmother was very devout, and she made him recite prayers as a child. Unfortunately, everything stopped. I don't know why. Maybe it was Serge's prayers, maybe his determination, or maybe the entity realized it was useless to try to break the door. Later, Serge and I shared some homemade liquor, and I wondered aloud why it hadn't tried to break the window. You could smash glass even with a fist or stick. Serge replied, "I thought you noticed too. The window was outlined all around with chalk, many times. Maybe that helped us then." That night, in fear and confusion, we sat for a long time, but eventually sleep overcame us. During the night, nothing strange happened again. In the morning, when we woke up, we were stunned. All the snow had melted, as if it had never existed, and the weather was warm and sunny. I must admit, at that moment I thought I had gone crazy. If I had been alone, without a witness, I would have gone home and checked myself into a mental hospital. We left the cabin, trusted our instincts, and went searching for the car. About 15 minutes later, we reached the lake where we had been fishing. We were in shock. There were no words to describe the scene around us. Eventually, we reached the car without incident, but when we got home, we found all the fish we had caught had gone bad, as if they had been left in the sun for 2 days. All the other leftover food was spoiled as well. After that incident, Serge and I visited our lake many times. We explored the area, tried to find that cabin or the clearing with the 3 nameless crosses. All in vain. No matter where we went, there was no sign of the cabin or the crosses. Once, we met some other fishermen at the lake and asked if they knew anything about a cabin or 3 graves. They looked at us like we were crazy and said nothing like that had ever existed there. And one more thing that haunts me to this day. When we returned, I immediately contacted my relatives and told them everything. They didn't believe me. They said that on that day, evening and night, there wasn't a single snowflake and the weather had been above freezing.